Hey, my amazing math scholars, welcome to Virtual Wednesday. So today we're going to work on adding and subtracting fractions. So let me share with you kind of some basic ideas as it comes to adding and subtracting fractions. So as you know, we've got these fractions here, and this is just a good visual way to see how these fractions are going to work. So you can see that this is a whole. So this whole square is one whole. And you can see that exactly half is shaded in. I know that it's half because it's divided into two equal parts. And so I know that my denominator is going to be 2. So if I'm adding these fractions together, I'm going to do 2 as my denominator. And since 1 is shaded in, this is my part that's shaded in, my fraction is going to be 1/2. So 1/2, now I'm adding that to this fraction. Now I need to figure out what this is. Now why is it here? Because I want to see that half is actually here as well. And so I'm adding these two fractions together. So I can see that there's 2 parts. Now I don't know how many equal parts there are yet, but I know that my numerator is going to be a 2. Now how many parts are there in the whole? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equal parts. So my whole is divided into 6 equal parts. That means one of these parts, one part is 1/6. So since there's 2 shaded in, that's 2/6. Now what does that equal? Well, I have to rewrite these fractions because I can't just add fractions together that have different denominators. So since this is 1/2 and this is 2/6, I want to see how I would rewrite these fractions. So how many sixths is 1/2? Well, I need to think about if I took, and visually you can see this. So let me use a different color here so that you can see if I shade in 1, 2, 3 of these 6, that's the same area as 1/2. So I can move my 1/2 over to this area. So I can transfer this over to here and say that, okay, 1, 2, 3/6, the 1/2 is an equivalent fraction to 3/6. Some of you know this, and so this is a good review to kind of be reminded of these things and to visually see this. So this is going to be 3/6. So I'm rewriting my 1/2 as 3/6 because it's just another fraction name for 1/2. I'm adding 2/6. So I'm going to keep that the same because it's already in sixths. So there's my 2/6. How many sixths are you going to have total? So I know that 3 plus 2 is 5. And my denominator is going to stay the same. That's going to stay a 6. So if you shade all these in, so this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 6. There's my 3/6 here. Plus 1, 2/6. There's my 2/6 here. You can see now that I have 5/6 shaded in. So 1/2 plus 2/6 equals 5/6. So that's kind of how you can visually look at these fractions using fraction bars. Now I want to do a couple of quick problems with you to think about these fractions as a whole and to kind of mentally be able to do fraction work in your head. So if I think about these, think about if the fractions that I'm adding are greater than 1, so are they going to be more than a whole or less than a whole, less than 1? So think about the fractions 1/2 plus 2/7. Well, let's see. I know that a half is exactly that. It's a half. So if I draw this out visually as a fraction bar, I know that 2 parts, I know that this is 1/2. Well, what do I know about 2/7? Well, I know that my whole would be divided into 7 equal parts. I only have 2 of those parts. So if I visually look at the fraction 2/7, I would have to divide this up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 parts, and I only have 2 of those parts. Now think about this. Is that going to be more or less than half? Well, what's half of 7? Well, half of 7 doesn't exactly equal out to a whole number. So I know that half of 7 would be like 3 1/2, right? So 3.5 is more than 2. So if I was doing 1/2 plus 3.5 sevenths, even though that's not a fraction, I would be at exactly 1 whole. So since 2/7 is less than half, if I add that to half, I know that it's going to be less than a whole. And so you can visually see this over here. If I move these over to this particular one, here's that half, right? Here's that half. So if I moved this over, I would have that little square and that little square added onto this. Well, this is going to be less than a whole because this whole thing here is 1 whole. Okay? So this would be less than 1/2. Now, what about 5/8 plus 3/5? Well, I know that 5/8 is more than half because 4/8 would be a half. Does that make sense? So think about this. 5/8 is more than half. 3/5 is also more than half. So if you have a fraction that's more than a half and you're adding that to a fraction that's also more than 1/2, you know that your answer is going to be greater than 1. So we don't need to solve this. I just want you to visually think about these problems. Now we get to a subtraction problem. If we look at C, if I have 1 1/4 and I'm subtracting a third. Ooh, think about this. So I have 1 1/4. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to use subtraction circles. Here's my 1 whole, all shaded in, and here's my 1/4 shaded in. If I'm taking away a third, so let me use a different color so you can visually see this. A third would look like this. Okay? If I'm taking away this third, okay, so I'm removing that, I'm taking that away. What am I going to be left with? Well, I'm going to be left with 2/3 plus this 1/4. Okay, well, wait. The third that I took away is more than the fourth. So this fourth would then just transfer to here. And I still don't have now this portion, I still have missing. So that would be less than a whole. So if I subtracted the third, I'm going to end up with less than 1 whole because I don't have the whole shaded in. So I hope that makes sense. So let's look at another one to help you a little bit. So let's look at D. If I have 3 5/8 and I'm subtracting 2 5/9, well, I know that 3 minus 2 is going to give you 1, right? So I'm left with 1 when I subtract the whole numbers from this. Well, what's 5/8 minus 5/9? This one's tricky, okay? So how many 8s and how many 9s am I going to have? Well, I need to take my 5/8 and I need to say, okay, wait a minute. If I have 5/8, I'm going to divide this into 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I have 8 sections. I have 5/8 shaded in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Notice this is my halfway. So it's more than half that I'm starting with, right? I'm subtracting 5/9. Let's subtract 5/9. Now I have 1 left, right? So I have a whole. So if I subtract, I have a whole plus 5/8. I'm subtracting 5/9. So I'm going to divide this up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, I messed up. So we're going to need 1 less part here. Let me back up. There we go. All right, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 equal parts now. All right, so I wanted to shade in 5. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equal parts. Okay, So I'm still a little bit over half. Now I'm starting with one whole. So I still have that whole that's left when I subtract 3 minus 2, because 3 minus 2 is 1. So I have a whole here. And I have a whole plus I have this. And I'm subtracting this. Okay? So what you're going to have left is you're still going to have this one whole left, plus you're going to have this little portion left. Okay? That's the difference between an 8th and a 9th. So you're going to be greater than 1. So I know that was a little tricky. Okay? That was a little tricky. So think about these problems in this way, and think about how you can apply this to our problems for today on Cindy's cats. So Cindy's cats, she's got lots of cats and she's got some problems with her cats. And so you're going to be adding and subtracting fractions. So I want you to work on this page on your own today for today's lesson. Work on this page and then check your answers with the video that will also be posted on this lesson where I go over these problems. So I hope that helps. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you on Zoom either later today. Get on Zoom if you need some extra help, or I will see you in person or remotely tomorrow. Have a great day, scholars.